My name is Tare. I raised my nephew like my own son. I fed him, protected him, and gave him everything I had. But the boy I saved from loneliness grew up to become the one who broke me the most. This is not just a story of sacrifice, it's a story of betrayal, survival, and the painful cost of love. Please like, share, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Welcome to Grace Folktales, where African are shared alive. Subscribe and click the notification bell to join our storytelling family. The night everything changed, Tare sat alone on the edge of his small sofa, staring at the cracked wall of his living room as rain tapped gently against the window. The electricity had gone out again, and the room was lit only by the dim glow of a rechargeable lamp. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that made memories louder. His phone lay face down on the table, silent, heavy with the words that had just crushed him. "After all I did for you," he whispered to the empty room, his voice breaking. "After everything. 10 years. That was how long he had raised Mello, his sister's son, as if the boy were his own. 10 years of school fees, hospital visits, late-night talks, scraped knees, broken hearts, and endless sacrifices. Tare had given up chances to marry early, to travel, to chase dreams that once burned brightly in his youth. He had stayed behind because a small boy with frightened eyes needed him. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the zinc roof like a cruel reminder that the world did not pause for heartbreak. Tare's phone suddenly vibrated. He flinched. The message on the screen was short, cold, and final. "Uncle, please don't come looking for me. I've made my choice." Tare's chest tightened. "Choice," he said aloud, bitterness rising in his throat. "What choice did you make that required you to burn down the only home you knew?" His mind drifted back to the day everything began, the day his sister was buried, and a 5-year-old boy clung to his trouser leg, crying, "Uncle Tare, please don't leave me." That was the day Tare's life stopped being his own. 10 years earlier, the sun had hung mercilessly over the dusty cemetery in Ibadan, beating down on the mourners as they stood in silence around the open grave. The air was thick with grief and the scent of fresh earth. Tare's shirt clung to his back with sweat, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the simple wooden coffin being lowered into the ground. "Life is not fair," murmured Koi, his closest friend, standing beside him. "Your sister was too young to go." Tare did not answer. His throat felt locked. His sister, Rayliet, had been his only family after their parents died years earlier. Now she was gone too, taken by a sudden illness that came fast and left no room for goodbyes. A small hand tugged at his trousers. "Uncle Tare," a thin voice said. He looked down and saw Mello, Rayliet's 5-year-old son, staring up at him with wide, wet eyes. The boy's black suit hung loosely on his small frame, and his shoes were too big, clearly borrowed. Tears streaked his cheeks, cutting paths through the dust that clung to his skin. "Where is my mummy going?" Mello asked, his voice trembling. Tare knelt slowly, his knees sinking into the soft soil. He pulled the boy into his arms. Mello's small body shook as he cried, his face pressed into Tare's chest. "She's going to rest," Tare said quietly, though the words felt empty even to him. "She's in a better place now." "But who will take care of me?" Mello asked, his voice muffled. Tare hesitated. He had not planned for this moment. No one had prepared him for the weight of that question. Around them, people whispered condolences and adjusted their clothes, already thinking of the food that would be served after the burial. Life moved on for everyone else. Tare tightened his arms around the boy. "I will," he said, surprising even himself. "I will take care of you." Mello looked up at him, hope flickering in his eyes. "Promise?" Tare swallowed hard. "I promise." Tare's one-room apartment in Makola was never meant for a child. The mattress lay directly on the floor, the small table wobbled on one leg, and the single fan on the wall worked only when it felt like it. When Mello first walked in with his small nylon bag of clothes, he stood in the doorway and looked around quietly. "This is where we will stay?" Mello asked, his voice small. Tare forced a smile. "For now. It's not big, but it's our home." Mello nodded as if trying to be brave. That first night, the boy could not sleep. He cried softly, calling for his mother in his dreams. Tare lay awake, listening, his chest tight with helplessness. He had no idea how to comfort a grieving child. All he could do was sit up, pull Mello close, and whisper, "I'm here. You're not alone." Days turned into weeks. Tare learned to cook simple meals beyond noodles and tea. He learned how to plait Mello's hair when it grew rough and tangled. He learned to wake up early again, not just for work, but to prepare a child for school. Sometimes, when Mello smiled at him, Tare felt something warm bloom in his chest. Other times, when the boy asked about his mother, the weight of responsibility pressed so hard he wondered if he had made a mistake. School fees became the first real test. One afternoon, the head teacher called Tare into her office. "Sir, the boy is smart," she said, adjusting her glasses. "But his fees are overdue. If it's not settled by next week, we may have to send him home." Tare nodded, forcing calm into his voice. "I will sort it out." Outside the office, he sat on a bench under the mango tree and buried his face in his palms. His salary from the printing shop barely covered rent and food. He called Koi that evening. "Bro, I need help," Tare said quietly. "Just for the school fees. I'll pay you back." Koi sighed. "You've taken on too much, Tare. Raising a child alone is not easy." "I know," Tare replied. "But he's all I have left of my sister." There was a pause. "Send me your account number," Koi finally said. When Tare returned home, Mello ran to him. "Uncle, my teacher said I did well today." Tare smiled, hiding his worry. "That's good. I'm proud of you." That night, as Mello slept, Tare stared at the ceiling, wondering how long he could keep this up. Years passed, and the small boy grew into a lively teenager. Mello became tall for his age, with sharp eyes and a confident walk that reminded Tare painfully of his late sister. The neighbors often praised Tare. "You're doing well," Mama Ino, the woman next door, would say. "Not many men will raise another person's child like this." Tare would only shrug. "He's my son," he would reply without thinking. One evening, Mello came home late. His shirt smelled faintly of smoke, and his eyes darted away from Tare's gaze. "Where are you coming from?" Tare asked. "Just around," Mello muttered. "Just around where?" Tare pressed. Mello sighed. "Uncle, you worry too much. I'm not a baby anymore." Tare felt a sting in his chest. "You may not be a baby, but you are still under my roof." Mello rolled his eyes slightly. Tare noticed, and it hurt more than he expected. The first serious argument happened over school. Tare found out Mello had been skipping classes. "Why would you do that?" Tare asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Mello shrugged. "School is boring. And anyway, some guys are making real money outside." "What kind of money?" Tare demanded. Mello hesitated. "Business. Business that keeps you out late and smelling like smoke?" Tare snapped. "Don't insult my intelligence." Mello's eyes hardened. "You don't understand my world." "I understand struggle," Tare replied sharply. "I understand sacrifice. Everything you have, I bled for it." The words hung in the air. Mello's face fell slightly, but pride quickly replaced the softness. "You didn't have to," he said. "I never asked you to." That night, Tare sat alone, replaying the words in his head. "I never asked you to." They cut deeper than any insult. Despite the tension, Tare continued to support Mello. He paid for extra lessons, encouraged him when he failed exams, and stood by him when he fought with friends. To the outside world, they looked like a normal father and son. One evening, Mello brought a girl home, Zena, shy and soft-spoken. "This is my uncle," Mello said quickly. "He's strict, but he means well." Zena smiled politely. "Good evening, sir." Tare nodded. "You're welcome. Just remember, this is a decent house." Mello laughed awkwardly. "Uncle, relax." After Zena left, Tare confronted him. "You're growing up too fast." Mello scoffed. "You're just afraid of losing control." Tare wanted to deny it, but the truth stung. He was afraid, not of losing control, but of losing the boy he had raised. The real trouble began when money entered the picture. Mello started coming home with new clothes and a better phone. Tare noticed. "Where did you get the money for this?" he asked one evening. Mello hesitated. "I told you business." "What business pays a teenager this kind of money?" Tare demanded. Mello's voice rose. "Why can't you just be happy for me?" "Because I'm scared for you," Tare said quietly. "I don't want to bury another family member." Mello froze at that. "Don't use my mother against me." "I'm not," Tare said softly. "I'm trying to protect you." Mello turned away. "I don't need your protection anymore." Tare watched him walk into his room, the door slamming shut. For the first time, he felt a strange distance growing between them. Soon, whispers began in the neighborhood. Mama Ino pulled Tare aside one morning. "That boy you're raising," she said carefully, "be careful. I hear things." "What things?" Tare asked, alarmed. "Bad company. Night movements. People who don't fear God." Tare thanked her but dismissed it publicly. Inside, fear gnawed at him. He confronted Mello again. "People are talking," Tare said. If there's something you're into, tell me now. Mello laughed bitterly. So you believe rumors now? I believe patterns, Tare replied. You're changing. Mello's eyes flashed. Maybe I'm just tired of being your project. The words stunned Tare into silence. He had never thought of Mello as a burden. To hear it twisted that way hurt deeply. The betrayal began quietly, almost gently, like a knife slipping between ribs without warning. Tare only realized something was wrong when his savings account suddenly went empty. He stared at the banking app on his phone in disbelief. This can't be right, he muttered. He went to the bank the next morning. After a long wait, the teller looked up at him. Sir, the withdrawals were made from your card, she said. Over several days. But I didn't withdraw this money, Tare said, his voice shaking. Then someone close to you must have access, the teller replied gently. Tare's heart began to pound. Only one person in that house knew his PIN. Only one person he trusted enough to share it with. When Mello had once been sick and needed money urgently. That evening, Tare walked into the house slowly. Mello sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. Mello, Tare said quietly, we need to talk. Mello looked up, his eyes unreadable. About what? Tare's voice trembled. About the money. Mello's fingers paused on his phone. For a second, something like fear flickered across his face, but it vanished quickly. He stood up and tried to sound calm. What money, uncle? Tare stepped closer. The money from my savings. Every naira I kept for emergencies. It's gone. Mello laughed softly, the sound hollow. So you think I took it? I didn't say that, Tare replied, though his eyes said otherwise. But only you know my PIN. Mello's jaw tightened. Maybe you told someone else and forgot. Tare shook his head slowly. Don't lie to me, Mello. I raised you better than this. Those words seemed to ignite something in Mello. You raised me? Or you controlled me, he snapped. Everything in this house is about what you want. Tare's chest ached. This is not about control. This is about trust. Trust doesn't pay bills, Mello muttered, turning away. That night, Tare could not sleep. He replayed every moment he had shared with Mello, every sacrifice he had made. The idea that the boy might have stolen from him felt unreal, like a bad dream he could wake up from. In the early hours of the morning, Tare got up quietly and went to Mello's room. The door was slightly open. Mello lay asleep, his face peaceful, almost innocent. Tare felt a lump in his throat. How did we get here? He whispered. His eyes drifted to the small bag under Mello's bed. Something told him to look. He hesitated, then slowly pulled it out. Inside were bundles of cash, neatly wrapped. Tare's hands trembled. Mello, he whispered, pain flooding his chest. At that moment, Mello stirred and opened his eyes. He sat up sharply. What are you doing in my room? Tare held up the bag. Explain this. Mello's face hardened. You went through my things? You stole from me, Tare said, his voice low and shaking. You stole the money I was saving for our future. Our future? Mello scoffed. You mean your future? I'm tired of waiting for life to happen. Tare's eyes burned. I was building something for us. For you. For me. Mello laughed bitterly. You were just trying to keep me small, so I would always depend on you. That's a lie, Tare said. Everything I did was to give you a better life. Mello stood up. A better life according to you. Not the one I want. The silence between them felt heavy, broken only by the hum of the old fan. Tare sank onto the edge of the bed. What are you involved in, Mello? He asked quietly. Tell me now before it's too late. Mello looked away. You won't understand. Try me, Tare said. I've carried heavier burdens than you know. Mello hesitated, then spoke. There are people who can change my life overnight. They invest in young guys like me. Quick money. Fast opportunities. Tare's heart dropped. There is no quick money without a price. Mello snapped back. And what price did you pay for your slow money? You're still struggling after all these years. The words hit Tare like a slap. He stood up slowly. If struggling honestly is my crime, then I accept it. Mello shook his head. You don't get it. I don't want to end up like you. That sentence shattered something inside Tare. He felt his chest tighten, his eyes sting. Like me, he repeated. So this is how you see me? As a failure? Mello did not answer. His silence was louder than any insult. Tare took a deep breath. I may not be rich. I may not be powerful. But I am clean. I can sleep at night without fear. Mello scoffed. Fear is for people who are scared to take risks. Tare pointed at the bag of money. This is not risk. This is danger. Mello grabbed the bag and slung it over his shoulder. You can't stop me. I'm grown. You are still under my roof, Tare said firmly. Mello's eyes blazed. Then maybe I shouldn't be under your roof anymore. Mello packed a small bag that night. Tare watched from the doorway, unable to move. Where will you go? Tare asked quietly. Anywhere but here, Mello replied. Tare's voice cracked. This house is your home. Mello paused at the door. It stopped feeling like home a long time ago. The door slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed through the small apartment, leaving Tare alone with the buzzing silence. He sank onto the floor, his back against the wall, and for the first time in years he cried openly. Not just for the money, not just for the betrayal, but for the boy he thought he knew, the son he had raised, walking out like a stranger. Days passed with no word from Mello. Tare went to work as usual, his body moving on habit, while his mind stayed stuck on that closed door. Coy noticed the change. You look like a man who hasn't slept, he said. My son left, Tare replied softly. Coy frowned. Your nephew. Tare shook his head. My son. That evening, Mama Ino knocked on his door. That boy of yours, she said gently. I saw him with some rough-looking men. Tare's heart skipped. Where? Near Dugby, she replied. I just thought you should know. Fear tightened its grip around Tare's chest. Unable to sit still, Tare went searching. He walked the streets, asking questions, following whispers. In a small bar near Dugby, he finally spotted Mello laughing with two older men. Mello, Tare called. Mello's smile faded when he saw him. What are you doing here? I came to bring you home, Tare said. This is not your world. One of the men chuckled. Uncle, relax. The boy is fine with us. Tare's eyes burned. You don't know what you're dragging him into. Mello stood up. You're embarrassing me. I'm trying to save you, Tare said. Mello stepped back, choosing the men over him. I don't need saving. Tare walked away that night with his heart in pieces. He realized he could not force Mello to choose him. The boy was slipping into a world Tare could not reach. At home, he sat in the dark and whispered, Rayliot, did I fail your son? Sleep did not come. Every sound outside made him flinch. Every passing motorcycle made him wonder if it was Mello coming back, or bad news arriving. The next morning, his phone rang. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar. Is this Tare? Yes, he replied, his heart racing. Your nephew is in trouble, the man said. If you love him the way you claim, you will come alone. The line went dead. Tare stared at the phone, fear and determination battling in his chest. Whatever Mello had walked into had finally come knocking at his door. Tare did not think twice. He grabbed his worn jacket and stepped into the night. The address the caller sent led him to the outskirts of Apata, a quiet area where unfinished buildings stood like forgotten bones. His heart pounded with every step. The streets were mostly empty, save for the occasional motorcycle passing with a low growl. When he reached the compound, two men blocked his path. You came alone? One asked. Yes, Tare replied. Where is my son? The man smirked. Inside. Tare's stomach twisted at the word son. He followed them into a dimly lit room where Mello sat on a plastic chair, his hands trembling. A bruise darkened one side of his face. Mello, Tare breathed. The boy looked up, shame flooding his eyes. Uncle. One of the men spoke calmly, almost politely. Your boy owes us. He took money to invest and failed to return it. Tare stepped forward. How much? The man named a figure that made Tare's head spin. That's impossible, Tare whispered. Mello broke down. I thought I could double it quickly. They promised me easy profit. Tare's chest tightened with anger and pity. Easy profit is always a lie, he said softly. The man leaned closer. You have until tomorrow evening to pay. Or the boy stays with us. Tare nodded slowly, hiding the storm inside him. Give me time. Back home, Tare sat in the darkness, staring at the wall until dawn. His savings were gone. His salary could not cover even a quarter of the demand. He called everyone he knew coy, distant cousins, old colleagues. Some promised small amounts. Many did not pick up. Coy's voice came through tired but concerned. Bro, this is serious trouble. Are you sure you want to risk your life for this boy? Tare replied quietly. He is still my responsibility. But he betrayed you, Coy said. He stole from you. He walked away. Tare closed his eyes. A father doesn't stop being a father because his child made a mistake. There was silence on the line. I'll help with what I can, Coy finally said. By evening, Tare had gathered less than half of what was demanded. He stood in the same compound, his hands shaking as he offered the money. The man laughed. This is not enough. Tare swallowed. Take me instead. Let the boy go. The room fell quiet. Mello looked up sharply. Uncle, no. The man studied Tare for a long moment. You would trade yourself for him? Yes, Tare said without hesitation. The man chuckled. Interesting. But business is business. They pushed Tare to his knees. Mello struggled against the men holding him. This is my fault. Mello cried. Don't touch him. Tare looked at the boy. Calm down. This is not how your story ends, he said, forcing strength into his voice. For a brief moment, something shifted in Mello's eyes. Regret, fear, and the realization of how far things had gone. He remembered the nights Tare stayed awake when he was sick, the sacrifices he never acknowledged. Uncle, I'm sorry, Mello whispered. Tare gave a sad smile. Sorry is a beginning, not the end. Just as the tension peaked, sirens wailed in the distance. The men cursed under their breath. Chaos erupted as they scattered. Police, someone shouted. In the confusion, Tare grabbed Mello's arm and pulled him toward the exit. They ran, stumbling over debris, hearts racing as the sound of sirens grew louder. They did not stop until they were several streets away, bent over and gasping for breath. Mello fell to his knees. Uncle, I didn't know it would get this bad. Tare's voice shook. That's the problem with shortcuts. You don't see the cliff until you're already falling. They returned home in silence. The small apartment felt both familiar and strange, like a place they had outgrown in different ways. Mello sat on the floor, his head in his hands. I ruined everything, he said quietly. Tare sat beside him. You made mistakes. Big ones. But you're alive. That counts for something. Mello looked up. After what I did to you, why did you still come for me? Tare's eyes were tired but steady. Because love is not something you switch off when it becomes inconvenient. That night, Mello could not sleep. He kept hearing the man's voice, seeing the bruise on Tare's face where one of them had struck him in the chaos. Guilt burned in his chest. I used you, Mello said suddenly in the dark. I saw you as weak, as someone I could step on to climb higher. Tare did not respond immediately. When he spoke, his voice was calm. And where did that climb take you? Mello swallowed. To the edge of destruction. Silence filled the room again. The next morning, Tare received a call from the printing shop. Business was slow. They were letting some workers go. I'm sorry, Tare, the manager said. It's not personal. Tare thanked him and ended the call, staring at the phone in disbelief. The last thing he had left, his job, was slipping away too. Mello overheard the call. You lost your job because of me. Tare forced a weak smile. Life doesn't send problems one by one. They come in groups. Mello's eyes filled with tears. I'll fix this. I promise. Fixing things, however, was not simple. Mello struggled to find honest work. His reputation followed him. People whispered. Doors closed. One afternoon, Mello returned home defeated. No one wants to give me a chance. Tare nodded. People don't easily trust someone who burned bridges. Mello clenched his fists. Then how do I prove I've changed? By changing, Tare replied. Not with words. With consistency. Weeks passed. Money grew tight. Sometimes they ate only once a day. Yet, there was a strange calm between them, a fragile peace built on shared hardship. One evening, Mello cooked for the first time. The rice was half-burnt, the stew too salty. Tare laughed for the first time in weeks. If I survive your cooking, I can survive anything. Mello smiled weakly. I'm trying. Tare nodded. Trying is where growth begins. But the past did not let go easily. One afternoon, a sleek car stopped outside their building. The same man from the compound stepped out, his smile cold. We didn't finish our business, he said. Fear surged through Mello. Tare stepped in front of him. Leave this place. The man chuckled. Debt doesn't disappear because you run. That night, Tare realized danger had followed them home. He began to think of ways to protect Mello, not just from criminals, but from himself. You need to leave a bot on, Tare said quietly. Start fresh somewhere else. Mello shook his head. I'm tired of running. I want to face the consequences. Tare studied him. Facing consequences doesn't mean dying for them. Mello made a decision. He went to the police station the next morning and reported everything. The men, the money, the threats. When he returned home, his hands were shaking. I told them everything. Tare exhaled slowly. That took courage. Mello looked at him. I'm done living in the dark. The police investigation brought tension to their door. Officers came asking questions. Neighbors whispered again, this time with fear. Mama Eno pulled Tare aside. Your house is attracting trouble. Tare nodded. Trouble came because I let it in. That night, Tare sat alone, thinking. He realized that even though Mello had started to change, the damage done to their lives could not be undone easily. Trust, once broken, did not heal overnight. Love did not erase consequences. And deep inside, Tare began to wonder if saving Mello had cost him everything else. The first summons came on a humid afternoon. A police officer delivered a folded paper to Tare's door, his tone formal, but not unkind. Your nephew is required to make a statement again, he said. And you too. Mello's hands trembled as he read the paper. Uncle, I've already told them everything. Tare placed a steady hand on his shoulder. The truth often needs more than one telling. At the station, the questions were long and sharp. Who recruited you? How long were you involved? Who else knows their operations? Mello answered until his throat hurt. Tare sat beside him, silent, watching the boy face the consequences of choices he once treated lightly. Word spread fast in Makola. People who once greeted Tare warmly now crossed the road to avoid him. Whispers followed them like shadows. That's the house, someone murmured one evening. The boy who mixed with criminals. Mello overheard and clenched his fists. I've destroyed your name, he said bitterly. Tare sighed. Names can be repaired. Character takes longer. But people won't forget, Mello replied. Tare looked at him. Then give them something new to remember. The landlord called Tare aside. My brother, I respect you, he said carefully. But police coming here is not good for business. Other tenants are complaining. Tare understood the message. I'll look for another place, he said quietly. That night, he broke the news to Mello. We may have to move. Mello stared at the floor. Everywhere I go, trouble follows. Tare replied gently, trouble follows choices. Change the choices, and the path will change. Finding a new room was not easy without steady income. Tare took odd jobs, loading goods at the market, fixing broken signs for small shops. His hands grew rough, his body tired. One evening, Mello offered him a small bundle of notes. I worked at a car wash today, he said. Take this. Tare hesitated, then accepted. We carry this burden together now, he said. Mello nodded. I want to earn clean money, uncle. Even if it's small. Tare felt a flicker of pride he had not allowed himself in a long time. Despite their efforts, the men from Apata did not disappear. One night, a stone crashed through their window. No one was hurt, but the message was clear. Mello panicked. They won't let me go. Tare's voice was firm. Fear is how they control you. We will not bow to it. Still, when night fell, Tare slept lightly, listening for every sound. Koi visited one evening, bringing food and news. There's talk the police are closing in on that group, he said. But these things take time. Mello looked hopeful. So it might end? Koi shrugged. Justice moves slowly. Danger doesn't. After Koi left, Mello turned to Tare. If anything happens to you because of me, I'll never forgive myself. Tare replied softly. Then don't let anything happen. Choose life. Every day. Mello began to change in small, stubborn ways. He woke early to work. He avoided old friends. When temptation came, he walked away, even when his hands shook from the effort. One evening, he confessed. Sometimes I miss the fast money. The respect people gave me. Tare nodded. Power that comes from fear is not respect. It's a debt you pay with your soul. Mello absorbed the words in silence. The court date arrived. Mello stood before a magistrate, his head bowed. Tare watched from the back of the room, his heart pounding. The magistrate spoke sternly. You are young. The law can be harsh. But today it will give you a chance. This is your last warning. Relief washed over Mello. Outside, he sank onto the steps, tears spilling freely. I was almost gone, he whispered. Tare knelt beside him. Almost gone is not gone. You still have breath. Use it well. The community did not forgive easily. Some parents warned their children to stay away from Mello. Shop owners watched him closely when he entered. Mello felt the weight of eyes everywhere. No matter what I do, they see the old me, he said. Tare replied, then outlast their memory. Consistency will speak louder than rumor. Mello nodded slowly. I'll try. Late one night, as Tare lay awake, he realized something painful. Love had kept him standing, but it had also made him vulnerable. He had poured everything into raising Mello, and in return, his own life had shrunk. No savings, no job, no peace. He stared at the ceiling and whispered, Rayliat, I kept my promise. But I'm tired. For the first time, Tare allowed himself to admit the truth he had buried for years. Saving his nephew had cost him more than money. It had cost him parts of himself he was not sure he could ever get back. The breaking point came quietly, without drama. Tare woke one morning with a sharp pain in his chest and a heaviness in his breath. He tried to ignore it, blaming the cold floor he had slept on and the long days of work. But when he stood, the room spun. He held the wall until the dizziness passed. Mello noticed immediately. "Uncle, you're not okay." "I'm fine," Tare lied. But he wasn't. The body that had carried years of stress, sacrifice, and silent worry was beginning to demand payment. At the small clinic near Bodija, the nurse frowned after checking his blood pressure. "You've been under too much strain," she said. "You need rest." Tare laughed weakly. "Rest is a luxury." "Then make it a necessity," she replied firmly. "If you collapse, who will carry the burden you're carrying?" Mello stood quietly beside him, guilt heavy in his eyes. On the walk home, Mello spoke. "Uncle, you've been dying slowly for me." Tare stopped. "Don't talk like that." "It's true," Mello insisted. "You lost your job, your peace, your health. Because of me." Tare sighed. "I made choices. You made mistakes. Both of us are responsible for where we are." Mello shook his head. "You paid for my mistakes. That's not fair." That night, Mello made a decision. He packed a small bag. "Where are you going?" Tare asked. "I'm leaving Abaddon," Mello replied. "There's a vocational center in Abeokuta that takes young people with records. They teach skills. Carpentry, mechanics. I can start again." Tare's chest tightened. "Running again?" "No," Mello said softly. "This time, I'm choosing distance so you can heal. I need to learn to stand without leaning on your pain." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Tare nodded slowly. "If you go, go clean. Don't carry this darkness with you." Mello knelt before him, tears streaming. "I betrayed you. I stole from you. I chose strangers over you. Yet you still stood for me. I don't deserve that kind of love." Tare placed a hand on his head. "Deserving love is not the requirement for receiving it. Changing is."